What happens when one of the most controversial figures in modern royalty comes face to face with Britain's most beloved morning show host? You won't believe what unfolds when Meghan Markle sits down with Alison Hammond for what was supposed to be a friendly chat, but quickly spirals into one of the most explosive television moments of the year. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below because you're not going to believe what unfolds. Last night's episode of This Morning was meant to showcase Meghan's latest charitable initiatives, but what viewers witnessed instead was a masterclass in tension, as the Duchess of Sussex found herself completely unprepared for Alison Hammond's direct questioning style. From the moment the cameras started rolling, something felt different about this encounter. The atmosphere in the studio was already charged as Meghan settled into her chair, flashing her trademark smile while adjusting her perfectly pressed cream blazer. Alison, ever the professional, began with what seemed like standard pleasantries about Meghan's recent projects. But seasoned viewers of the show could sense an underlying edge to her tone that suggested this conversation was heading somewhere unexpected. "So Meghan, lovely to have you here," Alison began, her warm Birmingham accent filling the studio. "You've been quite vocal about privacy lately, haven't you? Yet here you are, choosing to do more interviews. Help our viewers understand that balance." The question landed with surgical precision, and Meghan's smile flickered for just a moment before she launched into what sounded like a well-rehearsed response about using her platform for good. But Alison wasn't having it, leaning forward with the kind of intensity that has made her one of Britain's most respected interviewers. "That's interesting, but I'm asking specifically about the contradiction," Alison pressed, her voice maintaining its friendly tone while her eyes remained focused and unwavering. "You've sued newspapers for invasion of privacy, yet you're constantly in the media. Our viewers are confused by that messaging." The tension in the studio became palpable as Meghan's media training seemed to abandon her. Her carefully controlled facade began to crack as she shifted uncomfortably in her chair, clearly unprepared for this level of direct confrontation from someone she had likely expected to be more deferential. "I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding here, Alison," Meghan replied, her voice taking on a defensive edge that regular watchers of royal interviews would recognize as dangerous territory. "When you're fighting for justice and protecting your family, that's not the same as courting publicity." But Alison, sensing blood in the water, wasn't about to let this moment slip away. With a kind of journalistic instinct that separates great interviewers from mere celebrities, she pivoted to the heart of what millions of Britons were really thinking. "Justice is a strong word, Meghan. Let's talk about your relationship with your father. Our viewers watched you speak extensively about family loyalty and the importance of treating people with kindness. Yet your own father hasn't met his grandchildren. How do you reconcile that with the values you're promoting?" The question hit like a thunderbolt, and for a moment, the studio fell completely silent except for the barely audible hum of the cameras. Meghan's face went through a series of micro-expressions: surprise, anger, and what looked distinctly like panic, before settling into a cold stare that would have made the Queen herself proud. "That's extremely personal, and quite frankly, inappropriate," Meghan snapped, her American accent becoming more pronounced as her composure continued to deteriorate. "My family situation is complex, and I don't think it's fair to oversimplify it for television consumption." Alison, however, wasn't backing down. With the confidence of someone who has interviewed everyone from A-list celebrities to world leaders, she pressed forward with the kind of authentic journalism that British audiences have come to expect from their morning television. "But you've spoken about it extensively in other forums, haven't you? You chose to make it public. I'm simply asking you to explain the disconnect between your public statements about family and your private actions. That seems fair to our viewers who are trying to understand your perspective." The confrontation reached a boiling point as Meghan's mask of royal composure completely slipped away, revealing something much more raw and unfiltered underneath. Her voice rose noticeably as she leaned forward in her chair, pointing directly at Alison with an accusatory finger. "This is exactly the kind of aggressive questioning that drove me away from this country in the first place," Meghan declared, her voice trembling with barely contained fury. "You people never know when to stop, do you? Always pushing, always prying, always trying to tear down anyone who doesn't fit your narrow idea of what a person should be." The studio audience, many of whom had been supportive at the beginning of the interview, began to murmur uncomfortably as they witnessed what appeared to be a complete meltdown happening in real time. Alison, to her credit, maintained her professional composure even as the situation spiraled completely out of control. "Meghan, I think you're misunderstanding the nature of this conversation," Alison replied calmly, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before her. "These are questions that millions of people have been asking. I'm giving you the opportunity to address them directly, rather than through carefully crafted statements from your publicists." But Meghan was beyond reasoning at this point, her carefully constructed public image crumbling before the eyes of millions of viewers. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the studio floor as she towered over Alison with undisguised contempt. "I don't have to sit here and be ambushed by someone who clearly has an agenda," Meghan announced, her voice echoing through the suddenly silent studio. "This isn't journalism, it's harassment, and I refuse to participate in this circus any longer." The cameras captured every moment as Meghan reached for her microphone pack, fumbling with the equipment as her hands shook with adrenaline and anger. The technical crew scrambled to maintain audio levels, while viewers at home watched in stunned silence as one of the most talked-about figures in the world completely lost her composure on live television. "Meghan, please sit down," Alison urged, her professional instincts kicking in as she tried to salvage what remained of the interview. "We can discuss this like adults. There's no need for this kind of reaction." But Meghan was already moving toward the edge of the set, her heels clicking sharply against the polished floor as she made her dramatic exit. She paused just long enough to deliver one final, devastating blow that would be replayed on social media for weeks to come. "This is why Harry and I left," she declared, turning back to face Alison and the cameras one last time. "This toxic environment, these people who can't accept that someone might choose happiness over duty. You can keep your small-minded questions and your gotcha journalism. I'm done with all of it." With that final declaration, Meghan Markle stormed off the This Morning set, leaving behind a stunned studio audience, a bewildered production crew, and millions of viewers who had just witnessed one of the most explosive television moments in recent memory. The cameras continued to roll as Alison, ever the professional, attempted to bring some semblance of closure to the chaos that had just unfolded before the nation's eyes.